Bill, first of all, looks like you could go to the plate and get 2 or 3 hits. So obviously you're still active in the game, and you're one of these guys that still loves to teach young ball players the art of hitting.
Yeah, I've been in the game, for 43 years. So this first year, retired before spring training. I've been most recently working with the Cubs in Boise, where I live. So that was fun. The young kids are great. We've got some of them in this league now that I had last summer, and I keep up with them on the internet.
Obviously, you have to have the physical gifts and the hand speed and all that kind of stuff. What makes a good hitter in your mind?
Well, you got to square the ball up. I mean, so having good hand-eye coordination, very, very important. But you got to be very competitive, and then you've got to be able to deal with all the bad things that happen. I mean, even if you're really good, 2 out of 3 times you're making outs. So, you have to deal with the failure, and you have to be pretty competitive. And the baseball coming in at 90 miles an hour, everybody knows that if you get drilled, it hurts, and you get hurt seriously. But some way, the good hitters at a young age are able to get over that, the fear of the baseball. Because if somebody says they're not afraid of the baseball, they're one or two things: they're either stupid or they're lying. But it's hitting. A lot of people say hitting baseball is the toughest thing in sports.
Bill, you got the AllStar Game coming up. What do you remember about playing in the '81 game?
Well, I remember being on strike for a couple months almost, and spending a lot of time in Yellowstone Park. Didn't have a chance to work out that much before the AllStar Game after 2 months off, so that was a little tough. And then playing in Cleveland, usually when we went to Cleveland, there would be 10,000 people in a 80,000 seat stadium, so it was, somebody was yelling at you. You could hear them in the upper deck. But, it was different playing in front of 80,000 people there. It made it seem more like a real baseball stadium.
I remember when you came up a speedy left fielder for the Dodgers. What was it like transitioning from the outfield to becoming a really quality first baseman?
Well, actually, I played, first base when I first got signed. I didn't have a real good throwing arm. But, I came up, best opportunity was in the outfield. And I was, had pretty good speed. And I actually got to where I enjoyed the outfield. Made myself into, a better outfielder, and my arm got a little better.
You had to deal with injuries throughout your career, but it still seemed like you were awfully durable. I mean, you played a lot of games, 2,700 hits, and you had an awfully good career, and it seems like there just has to be just some quality that makes a consistent Major League Baseball player, because a season is such a grind.
Yeah, it is a grind. It's a marathon, and I did had a pretty serious ankle injury and had surgery, and got a really bad staph infection. So after that happened, that was the first year I went to the Cubs. I went from kind of a speed player to, I had to become more of a better hitter, more of a RBI guy, and I was able to do that. But what I went through to get out in the field every day, I don't think a lot of guys really would want to do that. It's 2 or 3 times in an ice bucket for 30 minutes, and then a lot of stretching time and whatever. But I loved it, and I thought it was worth it, and I'd do it again.
You mentioned the grind of a season. How much harder is it when you're chasing a batting title? 1980, how much of a challenge was that?
Well, actually, I really didn't think I had a chance to win. I was probably 10 points behind going into the last week of the season, and just got kind of in a hot streak and had 3 or 4 games in a row where I got 3 hits, and all of a sudden going into the last game of the season, I was ahead of Keith Hernandez by 3 or 4 points, and all I needed to do is get 1 base hit. The only way I could lose if I went 0 for 5 and Hernandez went 3 for 4, and I ended up going 0 for 5, and he got 2 hits, his first 2 at bats, and then he made it out. So I kind of slipped in there, but that's a thrill. Obviously, baseball, professional baseball, you need to win it as a team. Ultimate goal is the World Series, but we had a couple down years at Wrigley Field, and so I was able to accomplish a few individual things with the batting title. And one other thing I did there that I was most proud of is I had 105 RBIs, and I think the team only scored, I think, 550 runs all year, and that was with only, I think, 11 home runs.
Wow.
So got a lot of guys in from third and second, and that's probably the best accomplishment I had.
Speaking of statistical pursuits, Andrew Velasquez from South Bend with that hit today set a minor league record of 72 straight games reaching base. What's your reaction to that accomplishment?
Must be a pretty good player. I haven't seen him play, but that's pretty awesome. And it just shows that he can grind it out day to day. Because physically, it's tough. You don't feel 100%, maybe 20% of the time. But, you expect it. You still got to go out there and play.
And hitting is so enigmatic. You kind of talked about that when you're in a groove and you're the ball probably looks the size of a beach ball and you can't wait to get to the park. And then what changes from the next day where it looks the size of a BB. That it just seems like it's such a mystery of what puts you in a groove and puts you in a slump.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot to it, the mental part of it. Like you said, about 30% of the time, or a third of the time, you feel pretty good. A third, you feel kind of, so-so, and then a third, you don't feel like you could hit water if you fell out of a boat. But you got to be able to grind it out, and the good hitters kind of keep the so-called slumps to just a couple games, because that's the tough part. If you get 0 for 8, 0 for 10, nothing can really fix you except getting a base hit, and sometimes it's just a blooper hit. You get that bloop hit, and then you come up the next time, you hit a line drive. It's just seen it happen so many times. And that just shows you how important the mental part of it is.
You and Mookie Wilson obviously always going to be interconnected, but you guys have developed a friendship, I guess, over the years. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, he's just I made Mookie famous. Mookie's a great guy, and he was a good ball player, and I respect him. He's a class guy, and he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But those things happen in baseball and sports. When you're a little kid, you dream about hitting a home run in the bottom of the ninth to win the World Series, but it doesn't always work out that way. But I'm very happy with my career, and I think I accomplished a lot of things, and came close to getting 3,000 hits, and got to play in 2 World Series, AllStar Games, 200 hits, batting titles. I mean, that's some good. It's all good stuff.
Bill, David Ortiz weighed in recently on Cubs history for some reason and said that he thinks day baseball games have had a detrimental effect on the team's success. Do you think there's anything to those comments, or how do you react to the Cubs' tradition of playing day games?
Well, they play 30 or 40 night games now, which I wish they had those when I played. The day games are good, but a lot of times you get stuck coming in, getting in at 3 or 4 in the morning and have a day game the next day. And that's tough. And I remember sleeping on the trainer's table a few times, going right from the airport to the ballpark, and then having to play a 1 o'clock game. So that's pretty tough. And I think now it's better, and they're always trying to get more night games, but. Day games are good, except that when it gets in the summer, when it gets really hot and humid, it takes a little bit of toll on you. But, it's pretty much obvious that it does have some effect on the team's success.